All right, we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar 911970. Long time no here. I hope everybody is doing well. And I wanted to talk about things that I've been basically trying to convince people of for a very long time now. And hopefully you will bear with me. It might be a long video, who knows. But hopefully this may start to resonate with people at this point. Because one of the best definitions in the world that people really need to have memorized is the definition of the word insanity. And that is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Now, I haven't made a video on this channel in about a month because basically we need what's called a true walkaway. And it's not from one side of a party or not another side of the party. Because these, if you watch some of my older videos and you watch what I've been trying to teach people for the longest time, if you want true change, you have to stop waiting for somebody else who has some kind of agenda that will not be what you want. And you have to start doing things on your own if you want true change. Now, there's this whole Q movement that was going on, and I watched it. And even sometimes I even started to listen to it. I didn't listen to it much because I kind of have seen this stuff before. If you know anything about back in 2011, there was one of those big YouTubers, and I won't say their name, but it was kind of like a David Icke kind of person, who was saying back in 2011 that, you know, the government's coming to arrest all of these politicians and, you know, everything's going to change and you just wait. And, you know, there was another time where videos were saying, well, you know, all this gold is being held and it's just waiting for the right moment and they'll come and they'll change the system and don't you worry, just sit back and wait. You know, there are people who care about you, and it never happens. And like I said, one of the things about this Q movement, I started listening to it, and I listened to it mainly as a spectator. Until at one point I started listening, and at one point I actually believed something might happen. And they started getting to the whole spiel of, don't worry, our side is the good side, we're coming, don't worry, there's going to be this red wave, and there's going to be this freedom, and everybody's going to be arrested, and all this other stuff. And even at one point, I stocked up on a little bit of food and everything, because they were saying right before the midterm elections that John Podesta was going to be one of the first people arrested, and we're going to go on the right path. Didn't happen, because they said it was going to happen before the midterm, this weekend, as a matter of fact. Didn't happen. Now, they say every now and then, they say, oh, well, sometimes we got to post false flag stuff just to throw people off guard. And I can kind of understand that. But when I saw the midterms and I saw all the events, and I'll be the first one to say I didn't vote because, like I say, I'm not going to vote for, if you have a choice between Hitler and the devil, and I'm not saying you could pick which is which, neither one is good. So why would I vote for the lesser of two evils when the lesser of two evils is still evil? And the fact that they've divided us, and still people don't seem to understand that we're not white, we're not black, we're not Asian, we're not American, we're not European, we're humans. They've gotten us to totally forget that. They separate us between male and female. They separate us between colors, religions, countries, and yet we all seem to forget we're all fellow human beings. Whether you like to have sex with somebody of the same or different species, or sex, whatever, or if you pray to a different god, you are a different height, it should be regardless of the fact that we are all human beings. And we seem to forget that these days, and divide and conquer, which has worked for thousands of years, still works to this day. People seem to still forget that the United States is a corporation, Europe is a corporation, Australia is a corporation, Russia is a corporation. They're all corporate owned by very wealthy people who have chosen people to cheer for them on either side, so they could play good cop, bad cop, even though both sides thrive from your obedience, albeit your quote-unquote free will. And when I heard the president's speech today, first of all, he looked very deflated. He looked broken. He reminded me of a wild horse that somebody broke and tamed with that speech. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Obama was the answer. I'm not going to sit here and say Trump was the answer. I definitely am not going to say Hillary would have been the answer. There's a reason why all politicians are wealthy. And they get wealthy in ways that you don't understand. And there was a video I saw last night. I don't know where this came up, because every now and then there'll be this random video. If you ever watch YouTube, especially on like a game system or something, you'll always have these recommendations. And every now and then there'll be one that just comes out of blue that has nothing to do with what you're watching. And there was this 4-part video, 15 minutes per part, so I watched the whole thing, of a guy that basically claimed, they said his name was Joey, which is funny because later on there's another video that showed this person out of the mask, because they were in a mask doing an interview, right, trying to expose what was going on behind the scenes. And then after I watched the 4, there was another video from like maybe years earlier of this person whose name happened to be Joe. I won't say the last name, but the guy who is using an alias Joey, not very smart, because I'm very good. Being a DJ, I focus a lot on audio, and their voices were the same, so you could see the shape of the person. But the interview clearly is a person in a mask that was doing an interview, and he was claiming to be a hitman and talked about all this stuff, and ultimately the news reporter, because back then they actually did some investigative reporting and asked some questions, he was basically blown away with this guy's bluntness of how easy it was to contract kill people. And he basically asked the question, well, why are you here now? You're risking everything. Because even the guy admitted that if people found out who he was, he could be, killed himself. So they're like, why are you doing this? And he said, well, I wrote a book, and I want people to know the truth about what's going on. So, of course, as a person interviewing this person, how could you not ask the question, well, the truth of what? And basically saying how, do you know, because he said that he claimed that he worked in the New York area alone, and there's territories, that he said, do you have any idea how much money that they make per day? And this is back in the 70s, just from gambling alone in the city illegally. He said $20 billion a month was earned through illegal gambling and other illegal things. Also stated that cops as high as the commissioners and politicians would receive parts of that to allow them to do these underground situations. Now, can I say if this is true or not? Absolutely not. But if you watch this video, and I wish I had the link for it, but if you look at, I'll see if I can find it, and if I can, I'll put it in the description. But it really made me change my thought about things. And there's and it makes sense, because why are politicians who, for example, in government make anywhere from maybe $100,000 to maybe, let's say, $400,000 a year, end up with multi-millions of dollars in their bank accounts? And we still think that these people are going to represent us. And we see time and time again, especially if you watch some of the Project Veritas videos, which, by the way, I give them a lot of respect for what they did. Time and time again, you see politicians, they tell you what you want to hear, and then do what they want behind closed doors. Getting to the point now that they're so brash about it, some of them, they don't even try and deny it. And yet we still continue to go to the booths and register our names, which, by the way, I won't, I haven't, I will not. Because remember, like I've said in several videos, if you really understand, or what I like to call understand, legal definitions, the 13th Amendment was not about abolishing slavery. It was about redefining the legal definition of the word, calling it involuntary servitude. Now, if anybody voted last night, whether you voted Democrat, Republican, or Independent, nobody put a gun to your head, because don't you have to check a box that says, are you a U.S. citizen? Now, anybody put a gun to your head? So it wasn't involuntary, it was voluntary. And if you don't understand the legal definition of, example, the word citizen, and you check the box yes, and no one put a gun to your head, well, you are committing your own crime against yourself. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And the one thing I heard about the president's speech this morning, and I just got finished watching it, it made me want to make a video here for the first time in a month, is the fact now, supposedly according to the whole Q movement, which I watched with a grain of salt for the most part, was saying how, after the midterms, they have all this stuff on the FISA investigations and how the FBI illegally made all these stories up and all this other stuff. Now he's basically saying because the Democrats took the House that he's basically going to use it as a blackmail tool. Now, obviously, he didn't say that, but that's what I understood from his meaning, saying, well, if they're going to play the games of, impeachment and they're going to play the games of investigations, well, we have this in our background. So for the next 2 years, are the wealthy people who make all these YouTube videos and work on the news stations, you think they're going to suffer? Do you think any of the politicians on either side with their million-dollar bankrolls are going to suffer? When all they do is bicker back and forth and try and see who could pocket the most money from us? Or do you think we're going to benefit from all this? Who do you think's going to suffer? The people who work in the media that make lots of money? The wealthy people on both sides that do YouTube videos where they get funded hundreds of thousands of dollars? The million-dollar politicians on both sides? Or do you think we, the people, are the ones that are going to suffer? And in my opinion, the whole Q movement was another way to sucker people in, to give them the false hope of searching for Superman instead of realizing that you are Superman. And it's unfortunate how time and time again, ultimately people are lazy. People want somebody else to do everything for them. Be careful what you wish for, you may get it. So for the next 2 years, and people will say, oh, don't worry, in 2020, we're going to fix everything. You'll see it. You'll see plenty of videos. You'll see plenty of movements. You'll see plenty of believers, even though I tell people all the time there's a reason why there's the word lie in the word believe, that they'll say, oh, well, just wait until 2020, and then something else will happen. Oh, don't worry, we'll get them in the midterm elections, 2022. Doesn't work then? Oh, don't worry, we'll get you in the 2024. They want you to keep thinking, well, it'll be this time. Don't worry, it'll be this time. And now people are going to be divisive. They're going to fight back and forth. And we, the people, are the ones that are going to suffer. Both Democrat, Republican, and Independent. And people seem to forget, like Carolyn Mira just said, we, the people. Isn't the beginning of that document say we, the people? Not we, the Democrats, or we, the Republicans, or we, the Independents, or we, the government. It says we, the people. We have the power. But we, through our own voluntary servitude, give our power to them because it's easier. And then we wonder why, when we rely on other people to make and produce our food, why there's so many chemicals that make us sick. Why we allow people to give us treatments and not cures, that the side effects hurt us more than the benefits of that pill. That we rely on others for information that we could easily view ourselves, and wonder why time and time again we hear the word fake news, which, by the way, I've been reporting since 2011. I was abused, I was threatened, I was laughed at, I was called a crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, and yet time and time again the things that I've warned people about are coming true. And I even warned people that Trump and Hillary would work together. Now, it didn't work out the way I thought it might have, but a lot of it, I'm sure, is behind the scenes. Because now, for the next 2 years, as of now, instead of Trump doing the right thing and putting out that FISA stuff and exposing and draining the swamp, he's going to now use that as a bargaining chip to keep the other side from making him lose his position. How does that help any of us? And yet we keep falling for the same thing over and over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why. Why should I make videos on this channel when for years I've warned people about the very things that are happening and nobody does anything? Yes, some people will make some nice comments. Even some will share the video or even make their own. But what impact does it make on people who just will refuse to see what is truly going on because they don't want to spoil their little bit of good time they have left? Because I've even said this with my wife many times. There might be times I might be suckered in a little bit and believe some of the things they say, or at least say, you know what, let me take the chance and see. But I said, regardless of what will happen, I will, and my wife will, and my family will be fine, regardless of the outcome of what happens. because I see things not at the moment. I don't view things purely on emotion. I see the bigger picture, the deeper picture, and plan from there. And the incentive for me to make videos, when it basically falls on deaf ears. An example, like I said, YouTube. My channel is one of the biggest heavily blocked video channels probably on YouTube. There are plenty of people that complain how they have videos being blocked, but they go from like 2 million views a video to 1 million views, and they complain. I have almost 45,000 people who are subscribed to my channel. I will be lucky if 500 people see this video. So my message is being blocked. To me, that says I am right, or at least close to being right, or at least on the right track. And politicians on both sides, it's like watching a wrestling match. You'll have one side, that's the bad guy. You'll have the other side, that's the good guy. But that's when the cameras are rolling. When the cameras are off and they're back behind the stage, they're probably drinking together, because they both made the money from the people who came to view the spectacle. If you think any politician, how could a politician, let's say you are a governor and you govern 1 million people, how is it any possibility that you can satisfy every single person there? You can't. But they'll tell you they will. They'll tell one group, oh, I love Obama. They'll tell another group, oh, don't worry, I oppose Obama. They'll tell another group, well, I'll listen to Obama, and then sometimes I won't. And then they'll say it with Trump. Then they'll say it with Clinton. Then they'll say it with the Bushes. They'll say it with the next president. And we believe them. By their deeds, you shall know them. It doesn't say by their words you shall believe them. By their deeds you shall know them. There's a lot of hypocrisy out there. And it's disappointing that we've failed to see that we are all human beings. Gay, straight, black, white, male, female, atheist, Jewish. We all supposedly came from some kind of creation. Something had to be a creator, whether it's one God, several gods, whether it's a computer, whether it's a hologram, who knows? Something had to create this for it to be in existence. And yet we keep fighting for sides. Well, if you fight for a side, you don't get a complete. What good is half a coin? You can ignore one side. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean it doesn't have the right to exist. But instead, we're all like, well, my side's right. My side's better. Instead of saying we should both take care of both sides so the entire thing thrives. If you grow crops and make one side of the earth beautiful, and you destroy the other side completely, how good does that benefit us all with half a planet? And you don't think that destruction will have no consequences on the other side that you made thrive? And Gamble says it, Freeman says, they are fearful of us becoming complete. Well, fear equals control. When you lose the fear and realize, because like I've always said, you need realize to realize that you have all the power in the world, but you willfully or unwillfully give away your energy to others. You ever wonder why you have no energy for yourself? It's amazing how they got so many people, so many millions of people to vote and sign their name under voluntary servitude that, oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to check that box. I am a slave. And since nobody put a gun to my head and I was ignorant of that law, because I didn't believe it, because I don't get taught it, and anybody that tries to teach you about it is bullied and attacked and made fun of, they bank on you. They thrive off you. Even people that may have the drowning in good intention, like somebody like a Max Kaiser, or somebody like Milo Yiannopoulos, or even Ben Shapiro, as they had their little 4 horsemen of apocalypse with their live show, sitting there drinking their fancy brandy, smoking their very classy cigars in their nice, wealthy bathrobes, all sitting back enjoying it. You think they're going to suffer with their hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in their bank accounts? You think they're going to worry about all the fighting that's going to happen between both Republican and Democrat? Because I was watching a lot of their live show last night, and you know what? You know who could only ask questions on their chat? People who were paying $10 a month to their service could ask questions. So if you were like me, who found their live show for the first time and wanted to ask a question, you can't do it for free. And yet here, anybody ever on any video, you have to pay anything? Now, I've gotten super chats every now and then, which is nice, and that's voluntary. But as any one of my videos said, for more information, click on this link for a pay-per-view, or you have to pay money to see my videos. Even if you join my Patreon, you didn't get a special video that only Patreons could see, because information, just like everything, should be free. But yet, those channels will thrive off the ignorance. They will use your emotions against you to profit off of you. You know how many dollars that company got from me? 0. And they probably wouldn't know how to answer my question or handle my question, because I would ask real questions. If I had a chance to talk to the president and have an interview with the president, I would ask some real questions, like why isn't he getting rid of the Federal Reserve, which is a private-owned entity that is made to enslave us? Why are we not printing our own dollars? What do you think about the Roman Catholic Church and how the Vatican back in 2012 actually had their credit card system shut down because they were caught hiding drug money through their credit card system? You don't hear that in the news. But they'll tell plenty of things about the division, about the hate, about the sexism, about the colors, because they want everybody divided and angry. So you spew your negative emotions into the atmosphere, because people don't understand that energy travels at the speed of light, so it's regardless or irrelevant what you believe it or not. They gather all of that for whatever purpose, maybe even if it's just to keep you down and unmotivated. Depressed people, angry people, they tend to not do much except sit around and wait for the next savior to come along. So they're already, even news channels are saying now that, oh, get ready, as of today, they're going to start preparing for 2020. So instead of, for the next 2 years, them working together to make sure the world is a better place for all of us, they're now going on their campaign for something 2 years down the line, and 90% of the people are going to be stupid enough to think, oh, we just got to wait another 2 years and everything will be fine. Well, how long have we been waiting those 2 years? At what point do people say, hello, McFly? And like I said, right now, I have 45,000 subscribers. 42 people are watching this. On my comic book channel that has 5,000 subscribers today, I made a video live that had 80 people watching. Most people don't want to hear this. They don't want to hear the reality. They don't want their buzzkill to be ruined. They just want the next person that's going to come along and say, hey, just give us your time. Just be patient while we suck your money out of your bank accounts and eliminate more of your freedoms. We'll save you. And they sit there saying, okay, we'll be patient. We'll just keep giving you the money. We won't like it. We'll fight. We'll anger. We'll lose friends. We'll give up hope until 2 years from now. And if it doesn't happen, oh, you tried your best. Did they really? We have, and I kind of kid around with my wife about this a lot, and we watch videos like this every now and then, of like people on YouTube who have videos about them challenging eating, professional eaters, where they engage in gluttony in its finest and eat 5 or 6 pounds worth of food within 5 to 20 minutes while people are starving around the world. That's entertainment. It's called the first world problem. You don't think that we could solve the world's hunger in a day? Why don't they do it? Because when you're poor, you are always looking for a savior. You need somebody to lead you. When you are dependent on others, you are reliant on them to take care of you. They don't want independent, free-thinking people who could stand on their own because they cannot control you. And I see smart person after smart person who was book smart, went and got their nice fancy degrees, that as long as they're getting paid enough money to keep themselves happy, they shut up and they don't talk the real truth. And yes, I'm talking about people like the Max Kaisers in the world, the Jordan Petersons of the world, the Ben Shapiros of the world. They're good talkers and they're making plenty of money doing it. But they're not really telling you the real truth about things that are happening. Because then there goes their little fundings for themselves, their little protection. So are they really there to help you? And then people will say, well, they say truthful things. That is very true. But like I've said before, and I'll say again, if you have 99 pounds of ice cream and you add in 1 pound of poop, what do you have? You have 100 pounds of poop. Because trust me, I guarantee you, if somebody put 99 pounds of ice cream in front of you and then mixed in an ounce of poop, you wouldn't touch it. So in other words, that little bit ruins the whole thing. That is what the media does. That's what the governments do throughout history, all over the world, is they will give you plenty of ice cream mixed with the poop. And because you think it's a little bit, it's irrelevant, you're not getting it. I mean, prime example. Look at your water that comes out of your sink. How many times have you turned on your faucet and smelled the bleach? But yet people will still drink it. People still cook with it. We have a fluoride filter. We will not drink any water directly from the tap. And people will say, well, it's only a little bit of chloride, a little bit of bleach. How many of you will drink a little bit of bleach? I hope nobody's dumb enough to do it. And if I gave you a glass of water and I put a drop of bleach in, would you drink it? Sadly, some would. But most would say, well, you just ruined it. And yet, because the government tells you that, well, we're doing it for this reason or for that reason, you justify it with, oh, okay, they know what they're talking about. And people wonder why they get sick. They're poor. They're depressed. They're angry. And that is why, for all these years, I have been spending the majority of my money on things that I can use as a return, whether it be collectible comic books, gold and silver, or other things. Because I am prepared for any situation, not out of fear, but out of smart. Even if I don't say anything as intellectually astounding as some of these other people with these wonderful degrees. They're just doing things to protect themselves ultimately and take your money. I was pretty offended last night at the fact that I couldn't ask them a question because I didn't hand them $10. So if you don't give them money, you can't ask them a question? And these are the people that are supposedly on your side? And I like Ben Shapiro. I don't think he's evil. But there's definitely some self-interest there. And yet people will follow these people blindly. A lot of times I listen to them just to kind of listen to all sides. Because one of the things that you can learn is you can learn more from your enemies than you can your friends. And sometimes you have to learn what not to do. But how do you know it if you only view one side? So most people will ignore things like this because this requires effort. This requires self-thought. This requires research. It's easier to have somebody else take care of you. Well, if you're going to allow somebody else to take care of you, then why are you complaining if you've volunteered your servitude to give your power to someone else? Who is going to treat you better than you? And yet, time and time again, throughout history, people rely on others who make false promises, who lead you along and say it'll be better. I mean, go back to the days of the Roman Empire. Right before the Roman Empire collapsed, what did they build? They built the Colosseum. And what did they do? They gave free wine, free bread, and free entertainment 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to the public. While the politicians and the Senate It looks really familiar to our governments today, all around the world, were robbing you blind. Until they got to the point where they could rob no more and could no longer pay the soldiers that would protect them. Because last time I checked, soldiers don't work for free. Just like that video with that paid hitman. You're going to kill somebody, you got to pay them. Because they don't do it for free. But who are they really protecting? And people pretend, oh, I don't want to hear this stuff. It's going to ruin my moment. And yeah, it's like being on a heroin. If you continue to be on heroin, you know it will make you worse. You will know you will need more of it, and you know it eventually will kill you. But you also know if you completely stop, you're going to go through some agonizingly painful withdrawals, and you're not going to like that feeling. But if you stop, that goes away, and you improve your life. If you continue with the heroin because you don't have to feel those painful withdrawals, eventually you die. Where is anybody in the military standing up for the rights of what they swore an oath to? To protect against both foreign and domestic. How many people have you heard throughout their life with just following orders, just like Luque says, order followers? People have laughed and mocked me for years because I choose to have my own businesses. That I do not go to vote for the lesser of two evils. And yet, nobody controls me. Do you know to this day, the mortgage companies are still sending me bills every month since 2012, and the only thing I've ever requested from them is to show me not the original banknote, but the genuine banknote. Because I say, if I'm going to give my money, I want to give it to the right person. So just prove who you are and you can have all the money you want. That was back in 2012. I had a second court case. Said the same exact thing. It is now 2018. Still own the house. They can't take it. I dare them to take me to court. But most people volunteer their servitude because they don't understand or understand what's really happening in this world. They don't want to know because it sounds too crazy. And yet, they keep eating the garbage food. They keep drinking the garbage water. They keep believing the garbage stories and the garbage education, because that's why the word history is his story. When will people wake up? When will people truly walk away? The hashtag walk away movement is saying go from one corrupt system, walk away from that, and go to the other side of the corrupt system. Instead of walking away from both that may be painful, that may hurt you a little bit, may be a little inconvenient, may make you have to work a little bit harder. But you know, if you want true freedom, guess what? Nobody takes care of you. Nobody gives you any handouts. You're going to have to work for everything. And that scares the living daylights out of 99.9% of the world. And yet they'll complain that they don't get what they want from the one or two people that say they're governing millions of people in their areas. Really? You can't have it both ways. But they'll convince you of both ways being right. So now for the next 2 years in this country, we're going to have part of the House of Representatives with the majority of the Democrats. The Senate is the majority of Republican. And they're going to fight back and forth. So the Democrats will say, well, if you don't give us our way, we're going to do all these investigations. And the Republicans will say, well, if you're going to do something like that, remember that FISA bill that we were going to give out and we were going to expose all of you? We'll put that out. And they're going to use them as bargaining chips. So they're really caring about you and your best interest, but while they're using the very things that could wake up the American public and the world to the truth, and they're using them as bargaining chips so they can get their way or not have somebody else take away their power. Why do you think politicians plan so far ahead? Because they're not worried about what you do, what you think, what you believe. They're worried about keeping their jobs so they can continue getting the bribes and the quote-unquote donations from people all over the world. Why do you think especially on the Democratic side, the Democratic side, and I'm not saying the Republicans are great either, because both sides are criminals. But why do you think they want all of these people to come into this country? Well, you got lots of votes there because you think all of these migrants that are coming in, you think they're going to take over Wall Street tomorrow? I mean, let's keep it real. Do you think all of these people that are coming in from Venezuela and Yugoslavia, let's say, or, you know, Cuba or some of these other poorer nations, you think they're coming here and all of a sudden they're going to be a corporate CEO of Walmart? Or do you think they're going to get minimum wage jobs? So think about it. The Democrats, they have all the votes they need to keep themselves in power. What do the Republicans have? All those millionaire Republicans? Cheap labor. So they can have somebody clean their pool and somebody dust off their furniture. So both sides love them. When they put on the camera, they put on the WWE show. One side's for and one side's against. They're lying to you. They're both for it. The Democrats get free votes because their job is to keep them poor. Because if you want their votes and keep getting welfare programs, well, if everybody thrives and they get off of welfare, they don't need those votes anymore. That would not be smart for a Democrat, would it? And then a Republican, well, these wealthy Republicans, because there's no poor Republicans or Democrats, are there, in the Senate or in the House or in the governor set. They get plenty of these migrants to mow their lawns, to drive their fancy cars, so their labor is low. But they'll tell you, oh, we're going to give $15 an hour. We're going to give you everything you need. But what they don't tell you is when you force companies to raise their minimum wage for low-wage jobs, they have to raise the cost of everything or let people go. And people wonder why, like even some places, McDonald's, they've gotten rid of the kid order takers and they replaced them with touchscreens. Where's the benefit of the $15 per hour then? And they get people to face each other as the enemy instead of seeing it hurts everybody. Yeah, you might get $15 an hour. You also may get laid off. You also may find out that every single product that you buy is now 15% more expensive. So you think that 15% or $15 raise is going to help you? It's going to keep you poor. Because if you're basing your life on a minimum wage job, you're not making it in this world. You weren't making it in the 70s. You weren't making it in the 30s. You weren't making it in the Middle Ages. You think you're going to make it now? But people don't want to hear this. What politician is talking about that on either side? What news organization is teaching that on either side? What school is teaching that on either side? People do not want to get it. But they'll hate on me because I'm an easy target. But yet, I'm trying to help everybody instead of, here, see this group over here? I'm going to help them only. No, I want to help both Democrat and Republican, and independent, and person who is gay, straight, black, white, male, female. I don't have an agenda. And that's who they fear the most. That's why my 40,000 subscribed channel has 52 people watching right now. That's not even 1%. But the Rush Limbaughs in the world, they'll get millions. The MSNBCs and the CNNs, they'll get plenty. YouTube will promote both sides. The Ben Shapiro shows, they'll get hundreds of thousands of views. Well, they're sitting there smoking their fancy cigars and drinking their nice, expensive brandy, laughing it up, getting your $10 donations as a requirement to ask a question, ultimately ridiculous. Then you have the companies like Amazon, like El-Sheba just said, Walmart, where most of their products come in from overseas, so all of our money is going overseas to make somebody else wealthy. People don't get it. Why would I get myself aggravated to teach people the same thing that I've been teaching people? It's one of the reasons why I quit my band. I used to be the lead singer of a band. We went from 2003 to 2012 when I quit. And you know why I quit? Because the other 3 people in the band who were all close friends, I was the only outsider of the band. They found me later on to replace another singer. But the 3 that were in the band were all close friends since high school. They wanted to spend most of their time just getting away from their wives and drinking beer, watching a little bit of the Mets games, and maybe play a song or 2. And you know what I got sick of? The songs that we were learning back in 2003, they still had their practice in 2012. And I got sick of, instead of learning new songs, instead of doing something different, instead of expanding and becoming something better, they kept regurgitating the same thing over and over again because they were not serious about what they were doing. And I walked away from something that I loved, never to return. And Florence says, while we play the fool. Well, my question is to anybody, why are you playing the fool? And if you are playing the fool, take responsibility for playing the fool and don't blame anybody else for choosing that decision. It's easy to hate on somebody like me or ignore somebody like me or make fun of somebody like me or threaten somebody like me because I'm saying things that make you have to think differently, have to work differently, have to put in effort, have to see more than what's in front of you, to not look away from some other side because they're different from you. We are all the same. We all breathe the same air. We all need food and water to survive. Money is what keeps us down. You want to be healthy? Good luck when you're poor. But we don't want to stop that stuff. People don't want to take responsibility. They want somebody else to pat you on the back and say, don't worry, I'll take care of it. As they say to the next person that has the exact opposite of what your beliefs are. They're going to pat them on the back and say, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And both sides believe them. You know, buy an apple and only take care of one side of that apple. Let the other side rot and see how good that helps the whole apple do anything beneficial for you. Just focus on the one side and see how much benefit you will get from eating that apple. Take a piece of bread, let half of it mold. Guess what? When you take a bite of the good side, that mold that you did not see that's underlining underneath it is going to make you sick. When I made the slogan back in 2011, uniting the people one person at a time, I didn't know that literally meant maybe one person will listen or do anything. But maybe that one person is me. And you have to work on you. Because how many times have I told people, get rid of your credit cards? You know how many credit cards I own? None. I have one card that is a credit card from my, not bank, because I've told people stay away from banks, but my credit union, which means I can only spend money that I have. If I have $500 in my federal credit union, and I want to buy something that's $600, well, I can't use that card, can I? I don't put things on credit, because credit is debt. Debt is interest. You ever wonder if you read any religious Bible that the only time Jesus in the story of the temple got violent is when he went towards the money changers? But yet credit cards are convenient. They're easy. It allows you to spend money you don't have to continuously put you in debt that will keep you poor. And instead of them focusing on the things that you need to survive, they shine a whole bunch of things that you really want. That's why they have beautiful models. You know, they talk about body shaming and they talk about feminism and all this stuff, but yet look at Hollywood. Look at the newscasters. You ever see an overweight, really unattractive person doing the news? Especially the main channels? Go on CNN. Go on MSNBC, go on ABC, go on CBS, even go on Fox News. You tell me on any one of their mainstream channels that promote all around the world, all around the country, you show me a 500-pound woman with rotten teeth who is going to be doing the news. And yet they talk about, oh, we can't body shame people. Feminism, equal for all women, unless you are a woman that does something that is against their agenda. People do not see the hypocrisy. Look at Hollywood. When was the last time you saw a 500-pound woman making love to a 500-pound man in a romance scene in a movie? Show me a superhero movie where it's a bunch of ugly, overweight people. You don't see it. You see Hollywood preaching to you all the time about, oh, you know, we need to let all of these people in. Where is the sanctuary city in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, in all the fancy places where they have their multi-billion-dollar homes, multi-million-dollar homes? Where's the sanctuary cities there? But yet they'll make you feel bad while they drive around in their fancy cars and get catered and yesed at every single thing. People don't want to get it. You want to glorify these false idols on both sides. And some people are going to sit here and say, oh, look at this nobody preaching. Hey, I'm just sharing my opinion of things that I've seen and researched throughout the years. And like I said, even recently I fell for that little bit of a Q thing when they were saying, oh, John Podesta's about to be arrested. Didn't happen, did it? And when you heard the president's speech today, he's now going to use that FISA stuff as a bargaining chip to keep his job and some of the other people who play ball to keep their jobs. And nothing's going to get done. How does that help us at all on either side? Because the last time I checked, when taxes are raised, everybody pays them. Not one side, not one sex, not one religion, but everybody. And who do you think's going to be affected? The person that makes $500,000 a year, or the person that makes $500 a year, or $5,000 a year? There's a lot of hypocrisy in this world. And we can get fooled every now and then. But the more you know, the less likely that's going to happen. And even though I tried to give that Q thing a chance and listen to it and see what they were going to say, now that I see that it's just another one of those BS things that suckered people in, I'm not wasting my time with that either. And they're going to continue to tell you, oh, don't worry, this is why we did this, and we're going to explain it so it makes sense to you, because we need to fool you every time, so we're going to always have an excuse that you might say, oh, yeah, that I can see that. And keep saying, we're going to kick the can down the road. How many people are screaming, lock her up, at all of those Trump rallies? She in jail? Didn't remember when he was trying to be elected? And that big line when Hillary Clinton was saying, I'm so glad that you're not going to be elected. And his response was, because you'd be in jail. A lot of people applauded. A lot of people loved that. She in jail? Anybody in jail? They get free passes. Their punishment is to end up some private sector job where they're making thousands upon thousands of dollars a week doing basically nothing. That's punishment for them. Crime and crime, time and time again. That if we did it, we'd be thrown in jail with probably hardly any kind of a trial. No one in Hollywood would be making videos for us. No news channels would be standing by our rights. There's just too much hypocrisy, and yet we allow it. We continue to view it. We continue to believe it. Not me. No thanks. So, if you come to this channel expecting me to, fluff your pillow for you, ain't gonna happen. I'm here to tell the truth about stuff. I'm here to warn people continuously since 2011. Some people may not like me, but you know what? Go look at the videos I've been talking about since the beginning of this channel. They are still consistent then as I am at this moment. You see me flip-flopping just to get views? Just to make money off of you? No. I've stayed consistent since day one. Show me one politician anywhere in the world that did that. And yet, I'll never be on CNN. I'll never be on Fox News. I'll never be on the Ben Shapiro show. I'll never have anybody promote my channel to that extent. And I don't care, because I don't need that. I'm not doing this for fame, because trust me, I ain't getting famous from this. You think if I was a smart person, if I thought I was doing this to become famous, you'd think after 7 years of doing it, if it hasn't happened yet, It's not going to. What's right means sacrifice. What's right means independence. What right means thinking for yourself. What's right means doing it yourself. This used to be a republic. It became a democracy. It's becoming socialist, and who knows where it goes from there. People want to throw away their rights to a country that in other countries you'd be murdered for some of the things that you say. If I was in some countries, this video would have never seen the light of day. I'd probably be thrown in jail, and people on one side or the other want to throw that away. Be careful what you wish for. So, unfortunately, most people, they may cheer me here, they may thumb up the video, they may even share it, but the majority of people will never hear this, will never do anything about it. So what I'm saying is that the people who care, the people who are listening, you're going to have to fend for yourself. Because nobody's going to help you. They're going to tell you everything that you want to hear, and you might get convinced every now and then, but you got to do it yourself. And until people learn that, nothing is going to change for millennia, let alone every 2 years. And I'm sorry if that's a buzzkill. Truth hurts. It's time people start really looking at the real truth. But thanks for listening, everybody. Probably not what you wanted to hear. Some of you may appreciate it. Majority will never hear it. But at least you got to listen to my rant for free. Hope you have a great day and good luck.